Now we move to chapter 12. The theme is the pregnant woman manifest and the miserable dragon identified. There are a number of different characters that are revealed during this section. And Revelation chapter 12 reveals 7 different players in this end time drama. Let me go through them for you very quickly. The woman is Israel. The dragon is the devil. The male child is Jesus. Michael the archangel. The seed of the woman is the saved Jews and the Gentiles. The beast of the sea is the Antichrist, and the beast of the earth is the false prophet. So I get that ahead of time. So when I start reading this and you start hearing these, you say, who is that? Who is this? That is who it is. And I want to go through it very quickly again for you. The woman is Israel. The dragon is the devil. The male child is Jesus. Michael is the archangel. The seed of the woman is the saved Jews and Gentiles. The beast of the sea is the Antichrist. And the beast of the earth is the false prophet. So as we read this, now you'll be able to identify who is who.
Revelation 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered.
Yes, most prophetic teachers believe that this is the nation of Israel. And then we hear this.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
So some of the things that you see, the symbolism is totally explained, like we do know that the dragon is the devil. We also know that the color of the dragon is red. The first thing we notice is the color red. Red in the occult represents sensuality and violence. Satan uses sensuality to seduce the believer. If the seduction doesn't work, he uses his strength to persecute the believer. Red represents the blood of saints he sheds. The second thing we notice is the dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns. And it says this, and another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. So not only is he red, and we described that, but he's also a great dragon. Look at this. He is called great because he has vast power. He is called red because he's a murderer. He's called a dragon because of his vicious character. The 10 horns represent the revival of the old Roman Empire. Now, when we look at this, this can get very confusing, so I'm going to try to explain this to you. The 7 crowns are diadems on his head. The diadem is a special crown representing royalty. So Hal Lindsey believes that these are 7 Gentile governments. Number 1, Assyrian. Number 2, Egyptian. Number 3, Babylonian. Number 4, Medo-Persian. Number 5, Greek. Number 6, Roman. And then the number 7, which is coming, the revived Roman Empire, which will be formed by the Antichrist during the tribulation period. You know, there have been a lot of people, including Hitler and others, who thought they could capture and become a world ruler. And that's not happened. They thought they could bring up the revived Roman Empire, and it didn't happen. Now, the scripture says that he wears a crown. There are crowns that we will receive called Stephanos in the Greek. During the ancient Greek games, this crown was given to the winner, and you'll see on this coin right here that that is the crown that he wears.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth.
Many prophetic teachers believe that this is a reference to Satan's fall, taking 1/3 of the angels out of heaven. These are demons or fallen angels.
And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
We read in Psalms chapter 2, verse 9, "Ye shall break them with a rod of iron, you shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel."
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
There are people who believe that this is when Israel goes into hiding, possibly in Petra, an ancient city in Jordan, for the last 3.5 years. So that may be what's happening at this point. Then John goes on to say this,
"And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him."
Okay, now this can be confusing because what John is talking about right here are two different times that Satan has been cast out of heaven. In Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 to 14, he was cast out with his angels. He was cast out before the creation of man. That's the reason why we find him in the garden with Adam and Eve. And the second one is Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, is in the future because he's accusing the brethren.
"And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven,
Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night."
Okay, so now we see that at this point, the devil still has access to heaven, okay? And how do we know that? Well, the book of Job tells us that Satan has access to heaven after his fall. One day, the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser, Satan, came with them. "Where have you come from?" the Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, "I've been patrolling the earth, watching everything that is going on." How do the people in the tribulation period overcome the devil?
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death.
So there are three ways the saints overcome Satan. One, by the blood of the Lamb. The blood will never lose its power. Their testimonies, their actions speak louder than words. And three, they're willing to die for Christ.
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea.
You see, God describes those in heaven as rejoicing, and God describes those on earth as hell on earth. But you know, Satan knows that his time is short.
For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
That's right. The intensity magnifies when he realizes that his time is nearly over. Now just think about it. He's been in heaven. He's been in earth. He's been all up for thousands. We don't even know how long he was in heaven before he fell. So all this time he's been free to roam and everything. But God told him what was going to happen to him. And all this time, and then all of a sudden he realizes, wow, that's not a long time left. Just as a sporting event, the game picks up, as I said, with the intensity near the end of the game. Satan realizes that the doors of heaven are no longer open to him. He takes revenge on God's people.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
So we see now that he's cast out of heaven. So up until this time, remember in Isaiah chapter 14, he's cast out, but he's still allowed into heaven to accuse the brethren. And then we find out now he's cast out for good. And now he's really angry, and he's going to take it out on God's people.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent.
Now again, he's making some references to the Old Testament. In Exodus chapter 19, verse 4, it says, "Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself." Those 2 wings, I believe, refer to God's grace and God's mercy.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth.
So the mouth could be a reference to the devil commanding his armies against Israel. So when it says the serpent and cast out of his mouth, he's probably talking about commanding the armies against Israel. Now we see another analogy.
Water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
That water could refer to his armies. Again, we go back to the Old Testament. Jeremiah refers to the armies of Egypt as a flood. We're not told where the water or armies are coming from. John seeing them maybe from Egypt. Who is this that cometh out as a flood? Who is the water that moves as the river? Egypt rises up like a flood, and his waters are moved like the rivers. And he says, I will go up, and I will cover the earth, and I will destroy the city and the inhabitants thereof. Again, that's Jeremiah 46. And then you'll see that the scripture talks about the earth and the woman.
And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Now, what is John seeing here? It's quite possibly that he is seeing a great earthquake that destroys Israel's enemies.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Now remember, we talked about the seed of the woman being the Jews and the Gentiles who have acknowledged that Jesus Christ is Lord. And we come to this point when Satan realizes that God is protecting Israel. He goes after those saved in the tribulation period. They have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So we come to the end of chapter 12. We see how God is protecting his children. And we see the sacrifices that they are making, and how God makes provisions for his people. In our next series, we'll be talking about Revelation chapter 13, and that gets very, very complex.